So why do we come here? We come here to feel better. And didn't that feel better? To sing together, to hug together, to be the light, the bright light that shines as us. So why did we come here today? To connect, to feel better, just like that. And I know that sometimes we can't connect if we're feeling stressed or anxious or whatever that is, or like Lucy on Peanuts said that she was allergic to morning. And so it's true that we're in different places at different times in our life. We're at different places in our spiritual life, in our mental life, in our emotional life, and we can bring up that vibration. And that's what we're here to do today, is bringing up that vibration to enhance, to empower, to enrich our lives. And we were just all living examples of that. So today, we choose to no longer suppress our blessings. We are no longer suppressing our blessings. We get to let it out and let it flow. And sometimes we look at things in our life as either being a love, an extension of love, or it's a call for love. And that goes back to the Little Course in Miracles, is that we are being in a certain way, in a loving way, or we're calling for love. So today we get to call out those blessings, and we get to recognize that as we open up our minds and let life flow, that we are connected, that we're in the oneness, that we're not separate, that we are living examples of that. And so many of us may go through life like we have the foot on the brake, and that we're riding through life with our foot on the brake. Anyone ever feel like that? You know, like there's some place I want to let it flow. I really want to let it flow. Yeah, and it has that facial expression too. I notice some of you have had this experience, not just me, that have had this experience. So we get to take the brake off and take a break. Take the brake off and let that energy flow. And we can open ourselves up to those spiritual insights. We can open ourselves up to, yes, being enhanced and enlivened and empowered and enriched. And so we can open ourselves up to this divine presence and to realize even more and more that my life is the life of spirit. And sometimes it gets messy. Sometimes I'm a mess when you play a wonderful song like that. And I thank you for having me be a little bit of a mess. That I get to really feel that to my core and have even more of a realization of my oneness and that connection. And to just, yes, let that flow and let that express and have that realization. And I walked the Bosque wilderness several times this week, as I do with some of my friends. And I find it more powerful in my life to move forward towards something rather than move away from something. I tend to move towards something, and I find it to be a beautiful distinction. Have you ever had an experience of that didn't feel like the best experience? Anyone ever had? So some experience didn't feel like the best experience. And what's been calling me is a bit messy at times. I'm being called to follow the divine. And sometimes it's unpredictable. Sometimes it's not the way it's the way that I thought the path would be. Yet I'm walking forward toward that freedom, toward that sense of letting it flow and trusting my intuition, trusting that way of peace, trusting that walk of love, trusting that flow. And there is a beautiful distinction of moving forward. And there's a part of me that likes to just show up and to honor whatever that is as I follow this divine path. There's a part that likes to show up and have people in my life and have the things in it that I specifically choose. And it may not, it's like there may be other things that show up in the process. There may be other things that I get to notice and to have that distinction of moving toward freedom. And so I think that there's that part of me as I explore this divine path that I might lose those things or those people that I love. I might experience loss along the way on that path. I might lose some things that really matter to me. So what I do is I get to take a look at moving toward that what I'm getting is my ability to visualize my ability to imagine, my ability to set that intent is nothing compared to that connection with Spirit. So as I trust the divine, there's something greater. There's that presence, that essence, that power, that sense of aliveness. My ability to just imagine or even pray for some things, that it's even almost entry level compared to what the divine possibility is. And to know that there's so many possibilities that are available to us. And that there's something grander and larger. And so what I'm saying is bring it on. Bring it on. While I was walking the bosque with this friend this week, I was just noticing what was going on in my head was this song, We Are of the Light. And we're walking as that bright light, and we shine. We shine as that light. And we shine as whatever that faith is. And it could be that we call ourselves Science of Mind. It could be that we're part Buddhist, we're part Hindu, we're part Taoist, we're part Christian, we're part Jewish, we're part of whatever those faith traditions are. And to follow that divine path and to realize that whatever that entry-level way of being, there is something grander and larger. And so it's steeped in possibility. So that as I was walking with my friend, my life is steeped with possibility and more. I'm still searching. And we're all still searching, and I get to learn that what I'm looking for is the essence that I'm looking with. It's what I'm showing up as. And my spiritual practice continues to be more broad. I get to widen the bandwidth. I get to turn the dial on that receiver of those messages and those radio waves and that intuition. We get to go broader, and we also get to go deeper. So as we evolve spiritually, and as we mature even more spiritually, I find this to be true, that our desire and this hunger for the spiritual nature, this thirst, the thing itself, that experience of the presence and that power, it's an ongoing adventure, and it evolves itself. It nurtures itself. It comes with its own nourishment. It comes with its own replenishment and renewal and rejuvenation. And I find it to be true that this desire and this hunger for the spiritual nature just continues to mature and evolve. And I was invited to participate in a wedding, and maybe you find this to be true too. Pardon me. I'm experiencing what Lucy experienced as a little congestion from doing my Zen raking of leaves and pollen and stuff like that. Maybe we find this to be true, that there's nowhere to get. So I'm on this path, and there's nowhere to get. So I'm at this wedding, having this beautiful celebration and this consummation of this celebrating of this love, and that there's nowhere to go or nowhere to get, but to just be there. And there was a beautiful song by Charles Holt that's the I am presence. And it's much like we are the light. We bring that and we shine that light. We are the I am. I am where I am going. I am moving, living, and breathing and knowing that living essence and that connection at all times. And I love this adventure. I've owned a lot of 4x4s, and it's so funny because one time we had 5.5 some acres, and it had these beautiful 50-mile views, and it had a few gold mines on the property, and it was backed up to National Forest and had these beautiful tall trees, and it had a driveway that was, I don't even know what angle it was, but I had this Dodge Ram Charger, and a little tiny thing getting in these little steps up to this 4x4. And sometimes I would notice that there would be gription in the road. It was just we had some tractors up there to kind of smooth the road out that was before us. And sometimes there were rocks in the road that I had to go over. And then there were places that it wasn't level. And I had to put a rock in there to give it some traction, because if not, my wheels would be spinning. And did we ever notice in our life that we're just kind of spinning, or just we may have thoughts about, how our mind just keeps going on and on and on, and we have some self-talk, and we may have that spinning. Sometimes what we do is to get to throw something under there, like a spiritual practice, that gives us some traction to move forward and to have some forward momentum and to move forward in our life. So on this huge vertical driveway, it was kind of like a luge if I if I didn't have my gas on. And so I would be spinning my wheels unless there was something underneath me, like a strong spiritual foundation. And so here in community, we get to have that experience of, yes, we'd like to feel better. We'd like to be in community and be with us in our spiritual practice together. And our book of the month gives us one of those things too. We have a book of the month every month, go figure. We're in The Power of You, which is by Reverend Dr. Chris Michael, who's of the Kansas City Center. And then we had last month, we had The Power of Meditation. Then we had The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. And so we have all this month is going to be The Power of You. And we have Dr. Chris Michaels, who talks about the power of our mind and how to use that. So we can put something like a book under that to give us some traction, to have forward momentum. So the chapter in this book, it says your mind and how to use it, because we may not have gotten a manual. We're here and we're creating our own things. And we can say that most of us may not be aware of all of our thoughts all of the time. Sometimes they do just have that spinning motion, and they may get away from us unless we have some traction and some awareness. And the Buddhists say, show me what you dwell upon, and I'll show you what you are. What am I dwelling upon? Am I dwelling upon the indwelling presence? The universe is harmonious and it's orderly, and then we have this tendency of what we're thinking, and our thoughts show up as a mental atmosphere. That's the tendency of our thought, and our mental atmosphere may be what people may call our character. We have some characters in our life, right? Yeah, I may be a character on occasion. And when we want to not only change our thoughts to transform our lives, we may want to change the tendency of our thinking. It's a little bit larger idea. Not just a thought, but we're going to change that tendency or that mental atmosphere, because thoughts come constantly. They come, they go. It's kind of continuous, right? Like that wheel. And so trying to control our thoughts is like trying to control the ocean or the weather. It's like reaching out for the breeze. They come and they go. They're much like we saw some snow geese along that bosque walk. They come and they go. And the cranes, are they almost gone? They've come and they've done their thing. And we have that tendency of our thoughts which create our character. And it's intuited. It's intuited by myself. I get to intuit what my character is. Yeah, boy. And then sometimes we have characters around us which we intuit as well. And so we have these mental atmospheres that we notice. And guess where it starts? It starts from within, the indwelling presence. So has anyone in this room ever met anyone that you immediately fall in love with? Or someone that you're immediately repelled by? Or it could be just the opposite. It feels like, oh, I want to stay away from that. Or I want to stay, or I want to move toward this. Oh, I feel a real affinity for this person. We have a lot in common, whatever those commonalities are. Because we are intuiting the mental atmosphere, which is the result of our thinking and our feeling, we have that place that is the tendency of our thoughts. It's my mental atmosphere. And we'll notice I didn't say it was another's atmosphere, but it's my perception. So we can develop our own spiritual connection out of our perception. And I can attribute this atmosphere, this vibration, if you will, this environment, this spiritual environment, to what and who I resonate with. It's like music. I may resonate with upbeat music, and it's beautiful, and dance and sing and express in that. We get to be in this place of spiritual connection, of oneness and loving kindness and peacefulness and being joy-filled and generous in the flow. And we can let it flow and express. So whatever I'm engaged in my daily life, I bring this atmosphere too. I bring it with me. And it's who and what I resonate with. And so, with what and with whom am I involved? Where do I want to focus? Where do I want to place my time? And we have open mic nights, which is happening on the second and fourth Fridays at 7 o'clock. I really resonated with this group, and it's a beautiful place to come and get inspired. And a few people do a couple songs each, and to be lifted up and to bring that into daily life. There's a new host band. It's called Free Agents. So we can all experience being free agents and taking that back, that inspiration back to our life. In our celebration service today, and we already sang and we already hugged. In the programs here, we're showing up for whatever is. Beyond limits. We can be beyond limits in our life and to have our focus be on that expansion rather than the limitation. So whatever is happening now, we are knowing for ourselves in a more broader and a more deeper way. Whatever's happening right now, we're learning, we're growing, we're reflecting. So it's not really like the drive-through spirituality because we're reflecting. It's not like we go up and we have that wah wah wah. We're going to have would you like fries with that? It's not the Cliff's Notes. It's not that Reader's Digest. It's something that's beyond that. There's something that we can broaden and we can deepen. It's not even the Wikipedia. It doesn't give it justice. You go out to Wikipedia, you get the snapshot and the summary, but there's something here that can be broadened and deepened. And even when I go to Little Anita's on Tuesday taco night, 99-cent tacos, I'll get a whole plate and then I'll add to it throughout the week, and it must give me like 5 meals or something by the time I get done. But I add those ingredients that broaden and deepen that experience of that nourishment. And, anytime I have a vegetable, I feel virtuous anyways. But there's that bounty, There's that bounty that's happening. There is that thing itself that is causing us to seek, causing us to have whatever this urge, this divine impulse, this hunger, this thirst, this beautiful place where we experience our spiritual nature. And I talked with someone this week who's moving through an illness, and he said, I just want to be courageous. And he had gone to a conference that's going to help him reduce his stress, and he's going to have some of the symptoms, have some of the side effects lessened by drawing upon other people's experiences and listening to what their path is. And he wants to garner support for his well-being. And he's looking at his body, mind, and his emotions, and it's like we show up here today and we want to feel better. We really want, that's what we want to do. We have this whole mixed bag of stuff, and we don't really have a user manual. And he said, sometimes in life I'm afraid of things that never come to be. And we're not being chased by a bear. It's not like we're in medieval times, we're on horseback and we've got swords and the armor and the shield. And he said, every time I've been chased by a bear in my mind, it's because I climbed into the bear cage at the zoo. And I'm more courageous than that. And I could really feel his passion. I could feel his realization, his deepening. And I thought that that's true. I said, every time that I've been chased by a bear, I had climbed into the cage or whatever that sense of flight or flight, I had climbed in. I had climbed into that box, to that limitation. And I'm running around with some kind of feeling tone of whatever that fear of losing, whatever that is vital in my life, or how come I'm being chased, or how come I'm chasing something? How come I'm being chased, or how come I'm chasing something? Instead of just being present and showing up. We all have bears in our lives, right? Yeah. And it's possible that we may have climbed into a cage. I was at the mall. Don't go there too often to get mauled, but I was in the mall, and there was like this 6-year-old who was in front of this Wii machine, and he had all this garb on, and he was fighting, and it was all very like an R movie for this 6-year-old. And I thought, does anyone care? Does anyone notice what this, how violent this is? And we're in a season of nonviolence and peace. And I thought, boy, I really care about what our culture is doing, and that, yes, our global vision that we talked about last week is we can have a world that works for everyone. And for me, it didn't work for me seeing all that aggression in this 6-year-old. And so it was just very surprising for me what's out there. So yes, we don't need to be in that cage. We don't need to be in that box. And if we may have stepped into a box like that, or some container or some cage, thinking that yes, there's some kind of bear happening, we can climb out. We can jump out. We can also go to the next store in the mall. What if we were courageous enough to keep with our spiritual practices no matter what? To have whatever it is that we put under our wheels so that we have traction. No matter how bored we get, no matter how upset, no matter how fearful, or whatever that thing in life that we're kind of stuck in an area that has not transformed yet, is, I wish this area would really transform. Or that condition that our body may be experiencing, or whatever that living of a fulfilling work life, or a beautiful retirement, or that freedom. Or say if there was credit card debt and something needing to be paid off, I recommended that some people just put that in the freezer. Just go put it in the freezer. Put it in the deep freeze, and you can always pull it out later. Or that swimsuit that we want to fit into. Yeah? Put the swimsuit in the freezer. or finding more peace by allowing and accepting and appreciating the relationships that are in our life, and expanding our bandwidth to have that compassion for ourselves, and to have that place of love for ourselves, and that creative energy for whatever. Maybe it's a piece of art, maybe it's a composition, to have that creative energy flow and let it flow. What I appreciated about open mic night here is that people just showed up for whatever. They just brought their talents, they brought their gifts. And at the recent Spiritual Living Convention, we were there and bathed in all this wonderful music. And I woke up singing, We Are the Light. And I just woke up singing. And just notice how we wake up in the day. That's a spiritual practice too. Waking up in gratitude, waking up and shining bright as the light. So there are ways that we can reflect and be energized and vitalized, like our book of the month, and we can embrace whatever that intention is and place our attention on that intention of our spiritual practice. And then there's something beautiful that occurs because we allow that to show up. And like Dr. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of the Science of Mind, which is a guide for spiritual living, he says, God is the indwelling presence of my life. As I open myself up to the inner vital life and merge myself with its flow, I find myself energized and vitalized. Because we're emerging, we have this creative emergence, we're emanating, we're resonating, we get to reflect and we get to ponder a little more broadly and a little more deeply today. And I visited a friend who I visited at her home because I had needed to get by there, and I'd been gone a week, and she had a run-in with a semi-truck, and she was not in a car. She was in a crosswalk at San Mateo and Montgomery. And I went by, And I said, have you seen a doctor? And she had had some trouble with her primary person and was going to have to pay cash because no one else could see her like in a month's time. And she had like a baseball here of a hematoma and things on her legs and all this. And she was in a bear cage. She was in her own cage. And we got to talking, and I said, how are you managing? Do you have the care that you need? And what's interesting is she didn't go to blame. She didn't suppress her blessings. She talked about praying for the driver of the semi. She was there at Jiffy Lube, and she'd gone to see her son who was receiving some medical care. I mean, she's kind of got compounded things going on. And it's very unique. She had her own sense of wholeness amidst what didn't look pretty. She says, I'm focusing on my wellness. It's an investment in my peace of mind. She didn't look outside herself. She says, there's a healing power that's within me. And she could easily go to blame. She could say, if only. Anyone have any if onlys? Yeah. Every day she goes to a spiritual practice that works for her. She puts that thing under the wheel that gives her traction. She says, I'm focusing on what's positive in my life. On my wellness, on my well-being. It's an investment. And she envisions her body as whole, and she envisions her body as being energized and vitalized. So instead of being downtrodden, and yes, she did make some phone calls while I was there, instead of dwelling in the pain and the hurt, and then she's still having to care for her son, instead of dwelling on what might seem unfair or unfortunate, she envisions herself. She was on the phone. She says, I see myself as being active. You know, I play tennis. I play tennis at least 3 times a week, and I love to walk. And, you know, I rescue dogs, and I give them a temporary home until they find a forever home. I have a very active and full life. I need to get back to it. And it's like she was owning her power. She was owning it. And she was already on her path and had that momentum. She's also a culinary artist, and so she was baking this pie as we were talking across the counter. And she was having a different mental atmosphere. She was having her tendency of thinking. It wasn't just this ancillary thought or this passing through thought that come and go, but she was choosing in her life to be love, to be joy, to set the tone for peace in her life and her family. And what she realizes is that someone else is not going to do it for her. Even when she goes to see the doctor, she knows there's a presence that's within her that knows what to do. It's intelligent. It has that intelligence within every very cell. And she's aware. I think that's the main part. She's aware that nothing outside of her is going to do it for her. It's only going to be there to set her in the right course. So she's doing her own work. She's being fully present. She's in this power. She's feeling in this moment. She's not spinning her wheels like that 4x4. She has that traction for moving forward. And it's those spiritual practices that were giving her traction because she was aware. There's a great philosopher, Dr. Seuss. And he says, today, you are you that is truer than true. Thank goodness that we're alive. She prayed for the truck driver. She affirmed that her body is well. She saw beyond what looked like being bashed up. She saw beyond to the core of what dwells within her, to that presence which empowers her to move forward and to have faith. There's a power and a beauty in that, and watching how she responded. And so whatever this thing is, whatever this divine connection is, be in it. Show up as it. And what we want to really do is to just be with it. Be with it and see it. See through whatever that thing is in our life. Be it and see it. And be with it long enough to know. She was taking some time as she was baking the pie. She was with it long enough to know that, yes, I am whole inside. And yes, I'll have the care that I need because I deserve it. I'm worthy of it. I'm feeling on the mend. I'm feeling whole. So I think we're on to something powerful. And I can't wait to see how it shows up in our lives. I can't wait to see how this thing shows up for you. So I invite us to turn within in this moment and just know that there is an indwelling presence and a power, which is the divine elixir, which is the infinite, knowing that there is the pure possibility of being steeped in pure potentiality, and that it is made actual right here and now. And that there is no need to be suppressing at all, suppressing our blessings. And to let it flow, let the energy that is who we truly are, truer than true, being absolutely the beautiful you in this moment. And it shows up being unified in this connection of oneness and stillness, this quiet solitude of the divine being in this stillness and awareness of that which is real and true indwelling. And then turning within and knowing that there is this energy which is ever available. It is the source and supply. It shows up as beautiful health and abundance and beautiful relationships and harmonizing good. It shows up as total and complete love. It is this wellness and well-being which wells up and it naturally springs forth of the divine presence. It is its nature to be full and fulfilled already and comes as whole and complete. And knowing that there is this awareness in this very moment, and knowing that there are many moments of this deep realization of our spiritual essence. So, allowing it to be and setting it free. Knowing that blessings are abound and abiding in total love and joy, allowing it to be in full acceptance and appreciation. I'm so very grateful. And I release this word into the creative medium that says yes in this beautiful universal essence that is total divine life and love. And so be it, and so it is.